Hey guys, Jane here, and I want to talk to you a little bit about Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
Alright, so I read Tress of the Emerald Sea with a few of my friends. It was a buddy read, and this is a great book to buddy read. I think we had an amazing time with it. This is the second Sanderson I've ever read. The first one I read was Mistborn. The first of the Mistborn books. I don't remember what it's called. It might be called Mistborn, but I might be wrong. I actually like this one a lot better than I liked Mistborn because I loved the voice. I've seen Sanderson give lectures and stuff online, and he has such a sense of humor, and that came through so well in this book. This is about Tress. She is a window washer, or a window washer's daughter. I'm not sure which. Probably both. And she lives on this little island, and she's never been away from home. But there is a noble family that comes, and her and the son kind of have been in love for a little while. The guy's name's Charlie. And his parents want him to marry a noblewoman, but he wants to marry Tress. So he's like sending all these letters back and being like, I'm doing all this to not marry these noblewomen. Tress, you're the only girl for me. And it's really stinking romantic, okay? I loved Charlie. So, different stuff happens, and ultimately, the parents come back and they say, Charlie has been kidnapped by the sorcerer. The sorcerer wants, or sorceress, and the sorceress wants a ransom. We're not doing that, so he's stuck with the sorceress, I guess. And Tress is like, no, that is my man and I love him. So she basically gets on a ship and ends up on this long, complicated adventure, including the ship is attacked by pirates. She ends up joining the pirate crew, and she kind of has the pirates help her on this journey to save her boyfriend. Brandon Sanderson, in the back of the book, has said that this was kind of inspired by The Princess Bride, like what would have happened if Buttercup had gone after Wesley. I was expecting a lot more Princess Bride vibes, and while I think this has the humor of The Princess Bride, it doesn't have the romance elements of The Princess Bride, and I think that was a little bit disappointing for me because I love the romance of The Princess Bride, and while I loved how funny this book was, I would have liked it a lot more if we'd have gotten more romance. I also think I would have liked it, or I will like it better if I do a reread, because there's a lot of reveals that happen along the way that I think knowing them will make it richer to read the full book, or the book again. So let's get into some spoilers, because there's certain aspects of this book I really want to talk about. So the first thing is this book is told in the point of view of a character named Hoyd. I've never read the Cosmere. I don't know if Mistborn, the one that I read, is part of the Cosmere, but I don't think Hoyd was a character. If he was, I don't remember him. But that is the voice that we're in, and Hoyd, has been cursed by the sorceress, and so is really kind of a zany, cool character. I loved how funny and light this book was. This book, I was constantly sending screenshots of really good quotes to my friends, or we were talking about different discussions that were happening in the book, and this book just has some of the absolute best lines. I loved this book's lines. I ended up giving it a 4 star, so I really did enjoy it. I had some issues with it, and we're going to get there, but I loved some of the lines and some of the discussions and how tongue-in-cheek it was, and the humor was there. For me, there were a lot of times where this book dragged a little bit, or I was kind of like, can we move along? I started an audio and then I switched to iReading because I had to return my audio copy because I wasn't going through it fast enough. And I think that for me, this genre in general is one that I do better audio reading anyway. But it was just a little long at times. I remember specifically there was a time where Tress is trying to make cannonballs to move on their journey. And there was just way more information about cannonballs. And because of the way my brain works, I couldn't really visualize a lot of it. So I was just like, I don't care about the cannonballs. Can we have fun? Can we get back to the funny discussions? Can we have people doing zany things, etc.? My favorite character in the book is Huck, who is this little talking mouse that meets Tress, and they form this friendship. At the end of the book, we find out that Huck is really Charlie, and he has been sent to bring Tress back to the island. I don't remember the why. So I do think that element, particularly if I go back and reread this book, knowing that Charlie is Huck, I think I will see the book in a different light and I'll have a different experience with it. And I think I really would like to do that because you don't find out until the very, very end that Huck is Charlie. And it's a fairly long book. A lot's happened. But I think with him being the best buddy and stuff, like, there's a lot we miss out on of Huck because we don't know that he's Charlie until the very end. I have mixed feelings about it being Charlie, but that wasn't a huge problem for me. I was sad because there's times when Charlie seems like seems like he's sabotaging things. Like, there's this one spot where he throws some of their supplies overboard because he wants them to turn the ship around because he doesn't want her to go to the sorceress's island looking for him. But because of his curse, he can't tell her everything. He can't even tell her who he is. And Hoyd has a similar curse. My biggest frustration with this book, other than just there were places where I was kind of like, let's move it along, you're dragging, is the ending. So in the ending, we face off with the sorceress. And Tress has been our main character all along this point. And suddenly Hoyd just hops in, and we don't really know what Hoyd is capable of. Again, it's my first time reading this. I haven't read the Cosmere. And Hoyd just kind of pops in and zaps her. And he does this magic stuff. And I felt really frustrated with that ending because I'm like, this is Tress's story. And yes, she gets things to a certain point, but then she kind of loses that protagonist role. Her and Charlie are stuck and can't possibly move on, and then Hoyd pops in and is like, abracadabra, and everything's fixed. And I really hated that for the ending. I wanted Tress to be the one to fix it, and also, we didn't have a real good discussion of Hoyd's powers or who Hoyd was, and so I think I felt a little bit cheated by that too. I'm like, I didn't know Hoyd could do all that. Because up to this point, he's cursed and he's crazy. Or he seems crazy. He's not making a lot of sense. He's doing a lot of really nonsensical things. And yes, he's narrating our story, so we know that he can make sense, but, he's not making sense. He's doing really ridiculous things. So I really felt like the ending let me down a little bit because I wanted Tress to be the hero, and Tress really wasn't the hero in that last climactic battle. Other than Huck and Hoyd, there were a couple other fun side characters, although I don't really remember everybody. I know there's a guy who is mute and he can only talk with a board. And the sorceress seems to have some kind of modern technology things. So I do think there were parts of this book that were just kind of weird. The guy who's mute, we learn that he's basically using a tablet, and that the sorceress has tablets and computer stuff. And I was like, why? This doesn't seem like a world where there's tablets, there's pirate ships. Why are we having tablets? So there was certain things that were kind of congruous. They were weird, and I didn't love them. But overall, I thought the vibe of this book, this is a fun time. I had a good time reading it. Little let down by the climax, but overall, a good time. Lots of funny discussions, just great voice, great authorial voice. I do recommend this as long as you're not trying to go in for a Princess Bride retelling. Because I do think if you love The Princess Bride, this isn't necessarily going to be something you love just because you love The Princess Bride. I think the tone is similar to The Princess Bride, but like the romance is really not there. There's really very minimal romance other than like in the beginning, Charlie is sending her really sweet letters, and you know at the end they end up together. But like for the whole journey, he's a rat. And I mean a cute rat and I loved him, but he's a rat. And while I would totally date a talking rat if the circumstances were right, you know, that doesn't come up in Tress's world. So yeah. Have you read Tress? What did you think? If you read much Sanderson, what other books have a very similar voice? Because I love this voice. I want it to be fun and a little bit zany. I remember having read Mistborn and I found it a little bit dry. Now I didn't do that as a audiobook, which I will do next time. But yeah, I'm like, this was a great voice. This is the voice Sanderson should always have. And this is kind of the voice he has when I've seen him like teaching and on podcasts and stuff like that. And I really love that. I found that entertaining much more than the books that I've read in the past. So, what Sanderson book, if I really enjoyed this, what other Sanderson books should I pick up? Also, are there any Princess Bride retellings that have a little bit more romance? So if you read this thinking, oh, it's a Princess Bride retelling, and we're kind of disappointed it wasn't, what would you recommend reading instead or next if I want that kind of vibe? If you don't know what else to put, just put a book emoji down at the bottom, or a rat. Actually, if you watch this whole video, put a rat down in the comments in honor of Huck and Charlie. All right, guys, this has been Jane. I'll see you next time. Bye.